Welcome to part 1 of this short series on values and behaviours. Over these next few weeks, we'll be looking at 4 different values: self-awareness, vulnerability, compassion, and authenticity, and seeing whether these values interlink in any way and how we can develop personal boundaries that encourage our values to flourish. If you missed last week's introduction, you can access it via the link, and each week I'll link back to the previous episodes. Self-awareness can be described in many ways, but one description I really like for its conciseness is the ability to evaluate how your values, passions, and goals fit into your current environment and emotions. The dictionary defines self-awareness as the conscious knowledge of one's own character and feelings. But where do we start when we want to learn more about how to become self-aware? Well, perhaps let's start by understanding where it comes from in the brain. Self-awareness is located at the front of the brain in an area called the prefrontal cortex. This is a relatively new part of the brain which began to develop somewhere around 500,000 years ago. This is the part of the brain that deals with rational thought and imagination, and it's really this that separates us from our animal counterparts. Compared with animals, our frontal lobes are the most developed. However, the prefrontal cortex is still quite young relative to other parts of the brain. For example, the amygdala is one of the oldest parts of the brain. Its function is to regulate our emotions and our fight, flight, freeze responses. As early humans, we were more concerned with whether we were having tiger for lunch or whether we were going to be tiger's lunch, so there wasn't so much time available for philosophical thought. However, as the prefrontal cortex started to develop, so the ability to imagine and perceive without actually seeing an event came into being. We're still working out how these bits of our brains work together to help us become well-rounded, competent people. We often use phrases like, "Oh, I'm in two minds about this," or "my head is saying one thing but my heart is saying another." And this is because we're getting signals from 2 different parts of the brain at the same time. Depending on several factors, our upbringing, our experiences, the way we've been socialised, and even our gender can have an impact on whether we pay more attention to the rational brain or the emotional brain. But simply being aware of this fact can be a useful way to increase our sense of self-awareness. As we move through the next few weeks, we'll be looking at a small handful of values and beliefs, sometimes also called qualities. We'll examine how we view qualities such as vulnerability, compassion, and authenticity, and looking at how these qualities show up in our lives and what happens when they aren't able to show up. Here we can start to see some of our own values. We see it in other people because we have it in ourselves. That's all we've got time for today. I hope this has been useful, and I look forward to seeing you next time as we delve into the world of vulnerability. Take care, and I'll see you then.